Hi, Keith Townsend from the CTOadvisor.com with another VDM 30 and 30, 30 tech videos, 30 days. So we're going to continue the conversation on the digital transformations impact on enterprise data. We prefaced the last video and we talked about the 5 areas that impact digital transformation or data: agility, sharing, security, data gravity, and recovery. For those of you who are undergoing digital transformation for the first time, this tweet by Doug Laney, I think, really helps to bring home the point that today is the slowest pace at which digital transformation will impact the business. Digital transformation will pick up the pace of its impact on transformation, our processes on the enterprise. So if you're a little bit overwhelmed now, it's not going to get any easier. So let's talk about some of the technologies that help in the digital transformation. We'll start first with talking about data gravity. And we're going to talk through each one of these technologies and how it alleviates or helps in digital transformation. The first is copy data. This is the concept that we no longer use legacy processes or heavy data steps to make copies of our data to produce for something, let's say backup, DR, or even non-prod use. Let's take a typical use case for Oracle database that we are using in production. If we need to make a copy of that system data or that application's data to be used in non-prod, let's say QA or even development, what used to happen typically is that we get the DBA to do some type of export. The DBA would export that full data set to another storage point, and then they could go about re-importing the data and moving forward. The concept of copy data is that we basically virtualize or take a snapshot of the production data and allow that snapshot to be used to happen either or serve the needs for DR, backup, or even our non-prod use cases. The performance would suffer a little bit compared to typical production storage, but it gives us a great deal of agility and the ability to use a lot less storage. The option of caching. If we're in a distributed area and copy data is just not good enough, we have to keep a primary copy of the data somewhere. The data can be changed. The rate of change isn't that great, but the data needs to be changed. And we're working off that core data set. The ideal of data caching is that we have a core filer, let's say on at our enterprise data center located in New York, and we have facilities in Chicago that needs to access that data. We'll put data caching nodes in Chicago that prefetch the data that's being stored in our core filer. Replication, this is what we've used traditionally for backup and recovery, where we go from one site to another. This is really great, whether it is software or hardware based, the ability to basically create a copy of a data set from one location to another. And then the last topic is object storage. Object storage is something that's picking up steam in the enterprise. Uh, Really not suited for today's typical enterprise applications, but what I'm seeing a lot of this potential use case for is for back ending something like a NFS or SMB store on the front end. So basically a file system on the front end, a proxy in between the file system, and then on the back end, a bunch of really cheap, mostly cheap disks that's using some type of object store like a EMC's ECS or Scality, and they're using their proprietary software to mimic S3 storage protocols. But on the back end, we get that super scale of object store where we can store hundreds of petabytes of storage. So if we have a NFS use case, but we have multiple petabytes of physical data that we need to store, object storage makes that possible by breaking down those large files or data sets into small objects that can be easily replicated throughout our data center architecture. So that's quick high level conversation about data gravity, some of the technologies that we're using to solve the data gravity problem when it comes to digital applications. We'll talk to you next time. Follow me on the web, the CTO Advisor, on the web, on Twitter at CTO Advisor, and of course, subscribe to the podcast, the CTO Advisor, in iTunes and your favorite podcatcher. Talk to you guys next VDM 30 and 30.